All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to TekAdvisor Live. We are Friday the 18th, and thanks for joining me as I dig through the offers available to us this Friday morning for computers, including laptops, tablets, and smartphone here in Canada. Um, So behind me, you see the whichever device I'm currently working on, and I go by a popularity order from the most requested to the least popular on there, and we work our way out this morning until I have to leave around 10:30. Or at least on my time zone here in Mountain Time. And at that point, I have to go put the newsletter together, which will then be sent by email, and I do the video version of that newsletter here on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, Twitter, and I send it everywhere, usually in the mid-afternoon. So those are my quote-unquote open office hours, where I invite you to come and share your plans for the weekend. What are you, especially if I can help you shopping for the right laptop or whatever you need. So thanks for joining me this morning, and I've got over 500 links to update this morning, so let's get to it, shall we? Yeah, one of the most popular device on my site currently is this 15-inch Asus laptop. The only thing is it's out of stock everywhere. It has been for the last 28 days, so we're now at 29. So let's find something better. This laptop went up in price by $50 overnight at Best Buy. So that probably won't be as good a deal as it used to be. Let's check the open box version. That one came up in price by $50 as well. So it's just not going to be this laptop's weekend. Still $50 on a laptop, not necessarily a big difference, not at Best Buy anyway. And yeah, on Fridays, I usually pay a little bit more attention to what's going on over at Best Buy, simply to keep up with their new rebates, because usually most of their prices change on Fridays. So if today sounds a little bit Best Buy centric, that's because, well, yeah, they change their prices on Friday. So I've got a little bit of work, extra work to do on them on this day in particular. Right, so London Drugs has the same laptop. A pretty popular 17-inch laptop. Definitely not a very capable laptop, but it's quite popular right now, and I think I know why. It's got a large 17-inch screen, but that screen is also relatively low resolution. So if you're tired of squinting at a screen or anything like that, that laptop might be a little bit more comfortable, actually. It's also available from a lot of different places, so it's very regularly it enjoys rebate on a regular basis. Let's see, it's online and in stores or at the source. Sorry about that. Microphone's not exactly calibrated for the dogs, and I'm pretty sure I heard the cat do something upstairs. And the dogs tend to police the cat. I'm sure you've heard the expression herding cats. Well, my dogs are of the herding variety, and they feel that the challenge is worth taking, apparently. Now, what? Good thing I try to keep my microphone level relatively high, so at least when that sort of thing happens, it's not going to surprise or exceed the level my stream can output to. Probably are used to me speaking at relatively close level to that. I just don't quite have the same decibel output as my dog when they start barking. So sorry about that. And as I said, that laptop is available a little bit everywhere. So we'll be spending quite a bit of time with it. It's currently only available as a refurbished option from Amazon, and the price on that refurbished unit is actually higher than the typical price for the unit, so I'm not even going to list that as a possibility right now. It's just not worth it, especially considering how many different options are out there on that laptop. And let's see. Yeah, it's starting to be out of stock in more places too. We're not quite at a point where that laptop is out of circulation, but it's getting there. I'm actually wondering how many people will actually end up buying it, considering how underpowered it is. It's going to be okay for basic needs, but yeah, it's not going to be much better than that. Alright, and now that 15-inch laptop, nearly as popular as the 17-inch that I was showing up earlier. There's just one tiny thing here. That one comes from the US if you order it from eBay. And there are some import charges and delivery fees. So considering that it's very popular right now, let's do a little bit of extra math and conversions. So 25.44 in delivery fees plus 40 bucks for the import charges, or at least approximately. Yeah, that brings the price up quite significantly, so probably not the best place to buy it right now. It's often what happens with eBay. It looks like a good deal, and they do accept to deliver it to Canada, and then the delivery and import charges kick in, and then it's not a good deal anymore. HP still out of stock there. And let's see. Yeah, that Fire HD 8 is the tablet I currently have. I was curious to see if a $100 tablet would be up to the task, and pretty happy to report that for the most part, in my case, it is. Depends, of course, on what apps you need, and I do find that having to go through a third-party app for YouTube is a little bit of an annoyance, but it's manageable still. It's good enough for my needs anyway. I would definitely much rather have the official app and be able to, cast to the TV or stuff like that. A few things that I use usually on my phone, but that the tablet doesn't support. But considering everything else, it's not a deal breaker necessarily, and it does work fine with Netflix, Amazon Fire, not Amazon Fire, Amazon Movie. Yes, Mia. Yeah, my cat decided to do a little bit of exhibition this morning. So he had a close up of cat belly this morning. Full frontal cat nudity there. As nude as a cat gets, anyway. I got a cat toy mounted on an articulated arm over my screen, so that's why she was climbing earlier. Apparently, she's a bit playful this morning. So that one is in stores, but not online. Or at the source. But otherwise, no change in price there. Price being relatively stable for this device. Still $450 at Staples online and in store, so that's Yeah, that's not even the best price. Microbytes and Newegg have something better apparently. Let's see if it's still the case. Microbyte has it refurbished, available from their warehouse, so it's an online order only. Saves you something like 20 bucks on the laptop. Not sure that's quite worth it yet, but yeah, if you're in the Montreal area and don't mind a refurbished laptop, that might be a way to go. And the one with the lowest price on record, Newegg has it for actually cheaper by quite a bit. It's down to 340 Canadian right now. It's refurbished as well, but it's a little bit of a, it's a more substantial rebate, don't you agree? And it's also available online only, being Newegg and all. Alright, so still out of stock at eBay. And yeah, it's one of the weird things with, how would I say, search engine popularities. Sometimes old stuff becomes very popular, even long after they've gone out of stock entirely. The good thing is that TekAdvisor.ca can direct you to other devices in the same price range, which are, for their part, still available. Now, when people are looking at the Razer phone right now, pretty interesting device. I actually kind of like the design on this one. And I wonder how a 120 Hz display on a smartphone would feel. I'm just not much of a gamer on mobile OSs. I'm not a fan of microtransactions or anything like that. So I'd be more inclined to go for, let's say, the Nintendo Wii myself, but if you like to play on your smartphone, that's well, that's what the Razer phone is for. No question there. I heard that the camera is not that great. It's just that one, it's not a factor for everybody, and second is that even the worst camera right now is so good compared to what we had on smartphone even a few years ago. I wonder how terrible it is, really. I'm pretty sure it's good enough for a lot of people. And Google Pixel 2, not the XL version, is still at the same price. The XL version, on the other hand, is still $100 off. So I've heard great things about that smartphone if you're looking for one. Alright, so that one is available online only at Microsoft. Still available from Amazon from roughly the same price here. No real change there. Just wanted to do a random check on it this morning. Because yeah, I'm pretty sure that most people that visit TekAdvisor.ca assume that it's a mostly automated website. And there's a fair amount of automation going on there, that's for sure. But it's a lot of it is actually me working. The base list is something I created myself. If I don't feel comfortable recommending a device to someone, I don't add it. Part of the reason why you should be interested in TekAdvisor.ca is because I do a little bit of filtering on what goes on. Not everything makes it on the site. And I try to keep some kind of a best of for everything that's currently available in stores here in Canada rather than go with necessarily what is the latest greatest. It's more of a data approach, data driven approach to shopping for tech. From a selection of devices I think would be interesting to a fair amount of you. And yeah, the Surface Studio here is actually borderline on this criteria. Not because it's a bad device or anything like that, quite the opposite actually. I just don't think that it's worth investing that much money for most people. I would only consider the Surface Studio if, let's say, you're a digital artist using a stylus on a regular basis. I'm not even sure that stylus are attractive to people doing CAD these days. But digital painters, they're definitely a must. And yeah, the Surface Studio has the advantage of being a very neat and tidy and space efficient design. You could get a Cintiq with a desktop computer for the same price pretty easily, if you ask me. The only thing is that it's going to look like a mess. It's going to be you're probably going to get more for your money with Tower and Cintiq, which is one of those Wacom screen you can actually write on. And yeah, your Cintiq plus Tower is going to last you probably quite a bit longer than Microsoft offers, but it's going to be a tangle of wires. So if you work in, if your workstation is pretty public and you need something neat and tidy to do your work in, it might be worth investing in Microsoft offer, even though it's so expensive for what you get. Yes, rebates on screens are always interesting. And of course, you're probably going to notice that when I tend to crane my neck all around the place simply because I've got 4, well, sometimes 5 screen going on. And I'm kind of a fan of having multiple monitor around. Sorry, just needed to concentrate for a second there. But yeah, yeah. Multiple monitors are not, it's not going to boost your productivity any, really. It's just that many of us enjoy multitasking, which is essentially have multiple things going on at the same time. It's definitely useful for me doing live streams like I'm doing right now. That way I can do my price update in the morning as I'm doing. I can keep an eye on my stream running on a different screen, and I can pay attention to chat while looking at which pages are currently active on my site. And that gives me a chance to keep an eye on what's popular, what are people looking for at the moment, that sort of thing. And yeah, interesting. People are still very interested in running Civ 6. Always interesting to see how Civilization series has a long-staying power with their user base. Alright, no change at London Drugs on this mouse. And yeah, you heard me right. I do look at computer rebates from, yeah, the same store where you could buy Band-Aid and diapers and that kind of stuff. And yeah, usually I wouldn't do that, except London Drugs has a pretty legit IT department. And every once in a while they do have pretty interesting deals, so I keep an eye on them. You know, buying a mouse or a monitor from a drugstore is actually doesn't really put you in a weird situation, really. It's not like you're going to require service on it, but they do have a service department, and I hear they're pretty good. So yeah, don't be surprised if every once in a while I consider unusual sources for certain devices and accessories. I try to look for deals wherever I think people might be looking for them. And that's why I'm not. TekAdvisor.ca is really not a snob platform or anything like that. Usually, if that was up to me, I would probably just go to start a relationship with my local computer store if I could, and just go there whenever I could. Because that's definitely where you will get the best service. Every once in a while, you can get a better price, however. So sometimes it's worth looking a little longer, especially on stuff like cables, for instance. Computer stores tend to have relatively high prices on those. They will have a better variety, however. So sometimes when you need to make a tricky connection, your local IT shop's definitely going to be a little bit better there. But yeah, I've got no problem shopping at a big chain store for something that's going to be very simple and on which I don't necessarily want any support anyway. Because yeah, my experience with support at big retail stores usually not the best. And we've got a price drop on this desktop PC. It's in final clearance at Best Buy. And yeah, sadly, it's out of stock the moment it goes on sale. So yeah, $100 rebate on something that you cannot buy right now, which is a little bit frustrating. But I had a few people looking at it overnight. The open box version still available, but that one actually went up in price. Instead of $360, it's $640 this morning, which is again a little bit of a bummer. It's weird how an expensive tower in an open box can double in price while the full priced version went out of stock with a $100 rebate. And yeah, that's one reason why this stream, while TekAdvisor.ca exists, I'm trying to prevent as many frustrations as I can. Definitely, it can definitely be frustrating to shop for tech in Canada, or at least I think so. Simply because a lot of the material available on tech is, well, it's more US centric usually. So, in the name of reducing frustration, I try to do things that way. I try to keep tabs on what's available, what is actually going on, and measure basically the evolution of pricing of devices over time. Because sometimes a retailer will, I actually sometimes see price drops without them being even advertised. And sometimes they're a deal worth looking into. And sometimes you've got something that looks like a great rebate, but on a device that doesn't offer that much value to start up with. So yeah, TekAdvisor balances all the variables and factor everything you need so that you can make an educated decision without necessarily having to spend too many hours learning how the technology works or anything like that. I try to keep it light on the education aspect, even though I'd be happy to explain a few things, especially on this stream. That's part of why I'm here right now, actually. But I want to keep the data as light as possible on the site itself, because it's so easy to get overloaded with, you know, statistics and stuff like that, and try to factor in every single little detail about something. I know whenever my wife shops for tech, because, you know, no review is going to be 100% positive. There's always going to be something to say about a device, and basically whenever she looks at a review, she goes out of it feeling like, maybe I should look for something else. So I try to focus not necessarily on telling you if a device is perfect or not. I'm just telling you it's a good deal for a specific type of people. And if you fit in those category, well, you're probably going to have a good time. And let's see, we've got a $400 rebate on this gaming PC over at Best Buy. And this one is available in stores and online, so it's still a little bit over the prices it's available from over at HP. Let's check on the HP side of thing. All right, it's also available there. $1,000 rebate online only. Wow, that's quite a price drop there. Yeah, I can't believe that this is usually $3,000. Why would it be $3,000? Looks very powerful though. Oh, 1080 Ti with high-end i7 in there. Okay, yeah, that's a beast. 32 gigs of RAM, which is, let's be frank, gratuitous at this point. But yeah, $2,000 for those specs. That's actually really good. Yeah, I'm almost tempted myself right now. And I'm not usually one to. That's not the kind of desktop I would usually get, but wow, that is. Yeah, I'm a little bit stunned. I'll be honest. Those are fantastic specs for $2,000. Actually, I think I'll go and tweet about this one because I usually do a trending device in the morning, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the one right now. Yeah, that huge rebate definitely made the definitely cranked up the value rating on that one. Really impressed with that deal. Gotta admit. All right. Price went back up on this laptop over at Best Buy. So it used to be 800, now it's 900. And it's available online only at this point. Well, from what I can see anyway. And now this laptop from Staples went up in price, which is a bit unusual. Prices usually change on Thursday over at Staples. With that said, they do switch it up every once in a while. I know I noticed several price drop from their store on Wednesday. Right, certified open box, online only, and no change in price here. Yeah, from what I see, Newegg is still still offers the better deal on it. Best Buy only dropped their prices by $50 for the refurbished model, while this one goes for $520. It's available for free shipping, so yeah, and usually Newegg is really good for refurbished stuff. They have a pretty good warranty on their stuff. They have free returns, and most of their stuff is refurbished by the manufacturer itself. So you're not just getting something that got basically reconditioned by just someone next door. It's from the manufacturer itself, who has access to replacement parts and all of that, all the official stuff. So if you like your device to be factory built anyway, that's not a bad way to save a little bit of money. And yeah, I really like those refurbished desktop computers. $400, $300, they offer a lot of value usually. Because the thing is, those were often business systems. So they were built to last, while home users systems don't always are not always built with durability in mind. But anything sold to the corporate sector usually is. And even though those are old, it's old chips and stuff like that in there, it's definitely not the latest tech. But the thing is, when you invest in the right tech to start up with, those things still compare quite well to some of their more modern counterparts. The truth is that, yeah, technology has evolved a lot, sure. But for CPUs, the main focus manufacturers had were to reduce their energy consumption, not to make them any stronger, really. GPUs have evolved quite a bit more in comparison in terms of what they deliver, but the even with GPUs, the most impressive advances in technology is basically how they've been able to adapt the technology so it would work well in a portable device like a laptop or even a tablet. And that's what interests manufacturers the most right now. Yeah, concretely, we haven't seen very sizable advances in performance in the last 5 years. Advances have been made on battery usage, and efficiency in diminutive casing. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how smaller devices are catching up with desktop desktop systems. And that, to be honest, that's not something that I see as a huge positive personally. It's, yes, the demand for portable computing is pretty high right now. It's the highest it's ever been, and not everyone has a lot of space to dedicate to a computer. Actually, if you don't like sitting at a computer right now, I'm definitely not recommending that you invest into something that you're going to put on a desk somewhere and not use anymore. More and more, I think that interesting places to have a computer in the house would rather be hooked up to the TV, especially if you live by yourself. If you're of a whole family, then having to share the TV with the computer might not be the most tempting prospect. But yeah, the living room or the kitchen would be my pick personally. Because those are pretty central parts of the house where we already spend quite a bit of time, and we already do that naturally. But yeah, desktop computer is well, it's not the most attractive thing. It's not a natural fit for everybody. On the other hand, however, especially when you're building high performance devices like gaming system and stuff like that, yeah, we don't tend to game for only a few minutes. It's pretty common for the gamer to play for maybe an hour, sometimes more, if in for each sessions. So then the problem you run into with laptops, or even worse with tablets and smartphones, when you play on those, the ergonomics of those devices are definitely not the best. You need a lot of accessories to make a laptop ergonomic. And at that point, you basically need a stationary monitor, you need a stationary keyboard and mouse, you need a riser. So basically, you need to set up a desk just for that task. So at that point, the portability aspect kind of gets lost. And the thing is that gaming laptops are still not great in terms of well, cost efficiency is still not quite there. It's much, much better than it used to be. Um, and yeah, battery life's not great, and they tend to be much bulkier than, let's say, a laptop for simpler needs. So the thing is, if you need something you can carry around with ease, usually you don't want gaming in your system. And it's quite likely that you can buy a separate desktop and laptop system for the same price as you would buy a single gaming laptop. Not in every cases. I've definitely seen several cases where some gaming laptop can deliver pretty interesting specs for a pretty decent price. Um, but yeah, the ergonomics are never going to be there. Never on a laptop, even less on a tablet or smartphone. those things are terrible for you if you use them for more than 10 minutes at a time. So yeah, length of use is the main reason, the main argument I have against um, gaming laptops, really. And sure, if you don't have the space or just want something you want to use inside the house, a computer that you can stash away when you're not using it, by all means, it's worth looking into. You're losing on, you're losing a little bit of performance, not that much. You're sacrificing quite a bit of lifespan, no question about that. A gaming PC in which you cannot replace the GPU has a very finite lifespan compared to one where you can do a little bit of upgrade. A few cheap upgrades can make a desktop PC last for nearly a decade. It's really not that expensive, but in a laptop, those options are not available to you. So you're going to spend a lot more money on, well, in the long term. In the short term, you're actually going to save probably. But yeah, ergonomics. Be kind to your buddy, otherwise it's going to be very hard to have a good time if you're physically in pain. It doesn't have to be at a desk or anything like that. You can hook up your PC to a television, sit on the couch comfortably with a wireless. Um, can be a controller, can be a keyboard and mouse. It's one of the great things about PCs. You've got a lot of options in terms of gaming hardware and controllers. You can pick whichever you like best, really. And not every desktop computer has to go at the desk. If you don't like spending time at the desk, don't put a computer there. It's that simple as that. Try to set it up in a room where you already like spending time. But yeah, the quality that makes laptops the most attractive is versatility, not cost efficiency or stuff like that. So if that's what you're looking after, by all means, I understand why you're interested in a laptop instead of a desktop. All right, so things are going fairly well this morning. I'm already almost 20% done. And I'll see how far I can take this, my updates this morning. try to get as much as I can done before the newsletter. That way I have the try to have accurate data to do my recommendations as much as possible. It's just become a much larger task. Usually, I'd say in October last year, I was managing roughly the same amount of devices, roughly the same amount of links for them as well. But I could automate it much better. Automation got blocked at several locations. So instead of doing 200 something links like I used to do last year, I've got over 500. And yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. I mean, I'm trying to promote products from retailers, so I don't necessarily get why they want to prevent me from doing that. Because in a way, I'm giving them free advertising. But yeah, it's their data. They have the right to do what they want with it, and I don't really want to play a game of cat and mouse with them. I'm not comfortable with deception or anything like that, even from between me and retailers. So when they decide to, let's say, block my robot or something like that, well, I'm sure, fine, I'll do it manually. Just maybe I won't be able to cover your products as well or as regularly either. So yeah, the amount of work I have to do every morning has more than doubled in the last few months. And definitely not during months where I necessarily get the best return on my time either. So yeah, it's been a little tough there. At the same time, I don't want to only recommend links from retailers that actually pay me for my effort. I know most people are not going to buy their electronics from online sources necessarily. In many cases, I'd rather buy in stores myself, even though I buy quite a few online personally. But one of the things I really wanted to do with TekAdvisor is, well, provide assistance where it was needed the most. And where it's needed the most is basically for people that don't necessarily have the time to educate themselves fully about computers, how they work, and all of that. And from the shopping behaviors I've seen from relatives and friends and stuff like that, a lot of you won't necessarily go to a computer store to buy your stuff. A lot of people are actually quite uncomfortable in a computer store. So if you'd rather go, let's say, visit the local Best Buy because it's more comfortable to you, and you're going to go there whether I recommend it or not, at least I'd like you to be able to be able to prepare for your shopping in whatever way you want. So if I can provide some insight on devices, offers from local stores, by all means, I want to do that. It's just, yeah, it's not paying me. It's a it's definitely a financial loss for me whenever that happens, and that's the most common scenario. So yeah, I'm definitely not the brightest businessman out there. My business is definitely not very efficient, but I hope that what I do here helps you in your search. That's really what I'm after the most. Just doing a quick test on my own side right now. Yeah, looks like the chat is set up on the website and the live stream is showing as well. Great. Yeah, it's one of the things I really like from Twitch in general. Yeah, there's accounts to create and stuff like that. But I can embed it on my own site if I want to. And just to let people when I am live, that's actually a pretty good platform for that sort of thing. Even though I'm not the typical kind of content for them, at least they let me advertise it and integrate it to other places which are more appropriate for my type of content. All right, price went back up on that tablet over at Best Buy. I've been observing weird pattern in tablet pricing lately. I think that the latest Apple iPad disrupted the market a little bit. And I gotta say, even the 2017 model of the iPad was pretty cheap for what it could deliver. Even at full price, it was a pretty attractive deal. And the truth is, most Android tablets at this point are they're pretty much 4 years old. No Android tablets have been designed in recent years, and it sounds like the only ones that have done any update, gave any attention to their tablet lineup is Apple. And the thing is, most of those Android tablets were meant to compete with the iPad back when the iPad was almost $700. Now it's $450 at a regular price, if I remember right. So it's a much tougher call for them. It's much harder to achieve. Voilà. So yeah, that kind of contributes to them not being very competitive. And considering that I paid $300 for my laptop myself, that means that most regularly priced tablets out there are not that interesting to me. Because I feel that for the most part, I prefer the experience I can get on Chromebook and using the actual website and all of that. I like that experience much better than using mobile apps. And if you prefer apps, that's fine. But really, that's for my use of the technology and all of that. Apps fall short most of the time for me. So I'm much happier with much cheaper devices than I am with tablets most of the time. That's why I have the Android, the Amazon HD8 as my tablet because yeah, in order to be useful to me, tablet wouldn't basically need to deliver on a very strict budget. Every once in a while, I see I think it's the Galaxy Tab A 7-inch model on sale at 130. I don't think it's the case this weekend, but yeah, that can be an interesting deal because you do get access to the official Play Store there. It's a very old tablet, very old design, and the screen is even smaller than it is on my Fire HD 8. I would even expect sound quality to be better on my Fire HD 8 than the Samsung Tab A, which at its lowest price I've only seen come down to 130. But yeah, really depends on which app do you need access to. And I've been able to manage just fine with what was available on the Amazon App Store. But I really wish that Amazon and Google could kiss and make up and stop their little feud because, yeah, their users are stuck in a crossfire in the meantime. And I've read online that apparently Amazon is supposed to start stocking up again on Chromecasts. As far as I can tell, that did not happen in Canada. there was some kind of pressure exerted on Amazon by Google. And they buckled in the US, but not necessarily in the other markets. Which is too bad. It took a long time too before Amazon started expanding their services to Canadians. And I'm pretty happy with what I get with my Amazon Prime subscription. But yeah, it only became a valid an advantageous deal recently. And yeah, every once in a while, find interesting stuff on their movie streaming service, which has definitely been a latecomer in Canada. Still, definitely doesn't have a lot of content on offer, but it's a good complement to Netflix, for instance. It doesn't compare to Netflix, not by a long shot. Or, but it complements it pretty well. Their music streaming service hasn't impressed me, I gotta be honest. They don't have much of the music I'd be interested in too. I've been waiting for, hoping for YouTube Red in Canada for a long time. And now I hear it's going to become YouTube Premium soon. And Canada is on the list of countries to receive the service in 2018, so I'm looking forward to that. Especially since I find that advertising on YouTube lately has become pretty annoying. And I don't know if it's one of my ad setting that changed or if things really became more desperate on YouTube. I know we hear about the adpocalypse a lot. But yeah, it's I've been looking forward to be able to essentially support the content creators I like more directly, with the added bonus of less ads. That'd be great. And I know that I have a pretty good experience with YouTube Music service so far. That's my wife already has a subscription with them. And I'm personally using the free version simply because I don't listen to it that much, so listening to an ad every once in a while is fine. It's really not much of a bother, really. But yeah. So far, what I like is available on Google Music, but not on Amazon's service, which in theory I already have access to. Is just, yeah, I'm not using it because they don't have what I want. Or at least I haven't been able to find it. Pretty good price drop on the Microsoft Surface Pro here. Yeah, 250, that looks about right. Just keep in mind you still have to add the $200-ish fee for the added keyboard cover. It's a little bit of a hidden cost with Surface Pro tablets, because really people don't seem to consider that as a good well, when they consider that tablet and want determine that they want that instead of an iPad, usually that's because of the keyboard. They want to be able to use their tablet as a laptop. It's not very good at that from what I hear. It's not lappable, first of all. It kind of depends on that rear flap in order to stay up. So when you use it on your lap, it's not standing by itself as well as a laptop would. I hear they're much better than they used to be. But yeah, it's a laptop you need a table to use comfortably, really. Which is, you know, not that different, really, from a laptop. It's still, most of the time when I use my laptop, I use it on my lap. Even though that's not the most ergonomic way to use them. Mostly use it while slouching on the couch. So yeah, I wouldn't be served right by the Surface Pro personally, just because of how it doesn't hold itself. I kind of need the hinge that, well, only a laptop or even convertible laptop can provide. The one thing I sometimes miss, and that's something I didn't think I would say ever, but the one thing I do miss from my Chromebook is a touchscreen. It would actually come in handy on a pretty regular basis, simply on the kind of use I have. The touchscreen would actually be faster than a trackpad. So that's something I'll try to have next time I go shopping for a laptop personally, especially if I do those price updates I'm currently doing. Because yeah, I tend to complete my data entry at night while watching the TV. And try to squeeze a few extra updates in while I'm spending time with my wife. But yeah, a touchscreen would actually be pretty convenient for that sort of thing. Especially for those cases where there is no changes in prices or anything like that, just pushing the button would be faster that way. Still have 66 links from manufacturers, well, retailers that usually unveil rebates today to go still. It's a little, that process is a little slower right now simply because I've changed the way I update prices. And I'm not making a lot of sense right now. Sorry about that. I'm still a little tired. And I'm juggling a lot of things at the same time. But yeah, I changed my work order in the morning so that I wouldn't be jumping from products too quickly, so that it's easier to follow up with me and gives you a little bit of time if you have a question about whatever I'm currently looking at. Simply because the way streaming works, you probably hear me quite a few seconds after I've said it, so giving you a little bit of extra time to be able to pitch in is usually good form. So what I'm doing right now is that instead of just going from link to link in strict interest order, I try to update every link for a device before I go to the next link of interest. So that slows the process of updating the most interesting links. That makes the process a little slower. But hopefully that has a more cohesive flow for my viewers. Also helps me a little bit when doing my newsletter, because that way there's fewer outdated links if for some reason I'm not able to do 100% of my updates in a specific morning. And sadly that does happen every once in a while. Especially with the extra workload I have to deal with right now. It will. Quite a few price changes this morning. Definitely one of the signs of a long weekend. Long weekend usually are quote unquote shopping holidays. So I definitely see a lot of changes around those dates. And that one is still out of stock. Still $800 there. And we're a quarter to 10 roughly. Alright, so I've got 45 minutes left before I have to go and do my to put my newsletter together. I think I'll just go and go stretch a little bit. Might be letting the dogs out as well. Looks like a pretty nice and sunny day outside today. So I'll go handle that real quick, and I'll leave you with a list of recommendation per user archetypes. So stick around and I'll be right back. All right. Things should be good now. Let's try to finish as much of this as I can. That has been out of stock for 30 days, so can get rid of that. No change on the Galaxy S8 Plus there. And I find I recommend the S8 a little bit more these days. It did drop in price quite a bit since the S9 came out. And the thing is, the S8 is compares really well to its successor, actually. There's a few improvements with the S9, but power and battery life seems to be quite comparable. The camera on the S9 looks pretty interesting, but the thing is, the S8's camera was also very good. So if you don't mind having the not quite having the best camera out there, the S8 still does very well. Still looking forward to oh yeah, the OnePlus 6, however. Curious to see what it's going to be like. Not necessarily that I'm expecting things to be too different. I don't even think that it would be desirable for it to be very different. It's just that, yeah, it's been roughly a month since the OnePlus 5T was available for the last time, and usually I really like what the what OnePlus offers in their smartphones. Most of what they quote unquote sacrifice in order to make an affordable device is usually features I think are that I'm not even interested in, to be honest. So yeah, they've been great so far at creating smartphones for those among us that basically don't necessarily need to be cutting edge. But they do invest where it matters. Their smartphones are usually quite powerful for the price. They're definitely comparable in horsepower to most of the expensive smartphones out there. They just don't bother with being super aggressive with reducing the bezel, which in my case makes no difference. Like, I'm all for bezels, especially if that's going to give me better speakers. Because, yeah, I consume a lot of media on my device. So sound quality while I'm watching something is pretty important to me. And yeah, bezels are a great place to put speakers. Just trying to figure out where I usually put my chair. Alright, so it's available online only there. So no change at all. I'm roughly 40% done, which is pretty good these days. With the amount of extra work I have to get done in the current situation, 40% by 10 o'clock is not a bad result at all. Oh, yeah. It's regular price, but yeah, it's not a bad deal even at regular price. Or at least I think so. My algorithm seems to think there's something better out there, so I'll have to see. Gotta admit, it falls kind of the same pricing as some of the Memory Express builds, which, let's face it, are really good. Kind of offer the best of both worlds in terms of factory built system versus custom build ones. You get the hardware research that goes into a factory built system while getting the expansion capabilities and ease of maintenance of a custom built system. So those things can last a long time. So that means that, yeah, starting at around $1,200, usually the Memory Express builds will take over. Although there's a few, I've had plenty of surprises in that area lately. yeah, with the GPU shortage in the recent months, there's been a while where in order to get the best price, you really had to go with a factory built system, because the few units that made it to actual retailers are starting to be pretty damn expensive at that point. That whole cryptocurrency craze really started hurting PC gaming, especially on the custom build front. Didn't really affect big manufacturers, however. But it did mean that, yeah, they could potentially raise their price, even though they would still deliver the exact same product. So definitely I've been observing some of that. It just took longer to take effect because, well, there was still plenty of stocks in retailers' warehouse and stores. That one's still out of stock over at Staples. And no change on this one. Still available, but online only. Galaxy Note 8 is still the same price, bought from Samsung directly. There's a slight price drop there at Best Buy, but that's an online only offer, and yeah, the actual seller is Mike's Computer Shop, which sells it for even less than their Best Buy listing. And it's online only kind of deal. Sorry, gotta keep an eye on my dogs. And one of them gets a little nervous outside. So try to spare the neighbors too much barking. And yeah, just have to look basically how often does she gets triggered. Because yeah, usually when she starts barking a little too much for my taste, that's usually because she wants to come out anyway. Things outside are getting too hectic for her. So more often than not, I open the door and she looks relieved that she can finally come in. Right, so that one's available in stores only at Staples. Mm, not necessarily a laptop I would recommend to much people. In the $300 range, usually I tend to gravitate toward Chromebooks rather than inexpensive Windows laptops. Because yeah, it's true that the Windows laptops are a lot more versatile. They can do more things. The only problem is that everything they do, they will be really slow and very unpleasant to use. Well, if you go for a Chromebook in the same price range, you usually get something with much better battery and which will run a little bit faster too. It's going to do fewer things, but the things it does, it's going to do well. While a Windows computer in the same price range, well, at least for laptops, desktops are a totally different thing. But yeah, laptops in the $300 range running Windows, usually they won't do anything well. You're going to be waiting, and unless you're a very patient person, it's going to grate on your nerves. So if $300 is your budget, I would either go for a desktop computer where it's definitely possible. If you can't afford the monitor, if you don't already have one, just hook it up to your TV and then you're set. Really, if you need to save money that much, that'd be the way to do it. Uh, Plan number two would be to just go for simpler needs and go for a Chromebook. And plan C would be, well, maybe you need to spend a little bit more money. There's a few systems in the $500 range which start being viable. And if you like to do more than one thing at once, then I'd say that you will want to pay at least $700 for a Windows laptop. So yeah, a $300 Windows laptop usually not such a great deal, or at least not in my opinion. Simply because, well, it's going to be a very unpleasant experience. Alright, the S9 Plus. Still available straight from the manufacturer for $1,100. It's pretty much the price for a flagship smartphone these days. Actually, several are even pricier than that. Alright, I think it's time to give my neighbors a break. I'll go recover one of my dogs and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry everyone. There was Loose dog in the back alley, visiting every garbage can he could. Which is a big no-no according to my dogs, so it was quite a commotion back there. And Willow. 49. Alright, no change at Best Buy on this MSI gaming laptop. And no change over at Microbytes either. Microbytes, which is a Montreal-based PC supplier slash builder. Actually, where I bought my first PC back in the day. And that one is still out of stock at Best Buy. Same at Newegg. Yeah, all-in-ones are not the most fluid market out there. That product doesn't move very fast compared to laptops and even desktops. It's some of a weird in between. But I do have several all-in-ones in the house. They do have their use. No question there if you ask me. Um, they're wonderful computers for any public places where you'd like to have stationary computers. And if usually you want a laptop simply because you don't want a mess of cables, usually the all-in-one is a better deal. It's going to be more reliable, bigger screen, better screen. It's going to last longer simply because they usually breathe a little better. And they have well, their life is a little bit easier than a laptop. Laptop tends to be knocked around quite a bit, while all-in-one computer, well, it stays put, so there's less wear and tear on them. And I especially like them in, let's say, a kitchen setting. And one of the reasons why I like all-in-ones in that context over, let's say, a comparable laptop is that, well, most laptops have most of their components in the base. All-in-ones, on the other hand, usually have no electronics in their base. So if you have a spill or something like that, tends to happen in a kitchen, well, you're not soaking any electronics in the process. maybe the keyboard in the worst case scenario. I mean, keyboard and mouse, you can get a new set for maybe 20 bucks. So it's not a big deal. If you do a spill on the laptop, it's going to cost you a lot more than that. They're also pretty good for, let's say, students or anyone that has to move on a regular basis. Could also apply if, let's say, someone in the house likes to redecorate on a regular basis as well. All-in-ones, it's pretty uncommon to have a all-in-one without Wi-Fi and built-in. While with desktop, usually the philosophy behind having a desktop computer is that, well, wireless network is less performant anyway, so why get a worse network connection if you can just connect to it? So it's not uncommon to not have wireless on a desktop. Not that it's not easy to add to a desktop if you really need one, but yeah. If someone redecorates or reshuffle furniture around the house or just like things to be neat and tidy pretty much everywhere, or as much everywhere as possible, then the all-in-one has quite a few advantages there. And there's fewer cables to take care of, and yeah, if you move on a regular basis, it's a single unit that you take with you every time instead of carrying multiple parts. So there's fewer cables to drag around and reconnect every time. Basically, just disconnect it from power, bring it wherever you need it to be next, and just plug it back into power, and you're set. So yeah, all-in-ones definitely have their use, but yeah, definitely not the most popular devices out there right now. They kind of fall in that area where, well, laptops are more versatile because you can carry them around, essentially. There are worse computers, but you cannot carry it all in one in with you. Not well anyway. So there's a big downside there. And if, let's say, you're into gaming or anything like that, all-in-ones are built relatively similar to a laptop, and that they use integrated systems a little bit more, which means that yeah, if you have a video chip in there, something dedicated, not what's in it, is usually included with those. Well, you cannot replace them easily, usually. So you're pretty much stuck with a desktop that will probably last you 3 years instead of the. You can easily do 6 to 8 with a desktop computer for a gamer. So it's going to be relatively, well, it's going to age faster. So you will have either to replace it, over invest right away, which doesn't really stretch the life of your device that much. Not for a gamer anyway. Or you'll need to basically find another secondary use for that computer. So that could be a situation where you would take your old gaming all-in-ones, let's say you have a gaming all-in-one, and start using it for, emails, watching videos, and that sort of things instead, maybe in a different room. if you're a gamer, that second PC could be used as your streaming device instead of streaming everything from the same PC. Could handle your chat and encoding your gameplay and all that. You would just probably need to go with a USB capture card, or maybe go through a network protocol to transfer your video and audio from your gaming system to your streaming system. So yeah, there's definitely several use for an old PC around the house, or at least I found several. But I'm a little bit of a serial recycler myself. All right, so we're at 10:30. Usually I like to start writing the newsletter around 11, and I probably have quite a few things to take care in the meantime. So I'll probably go pretty soon. I've got still 23 links I really want to update today, so I'll try to speed things up and take care of those before I go. Because yeah, on Friday I try to update everything I can from Best Buy, as well as Visions Electronics, which also tend to announce their new prices on Friday. And Visions has been pretty good lately on hardware. Several of their gaming PCs were actually very attractive. So try to include those whenever I can. It's always a little weird to see price change on device which have been out of stock for a little while, but they happen. And that one open box is back in stock, online only, because that's where Best Buy sells their open boxes for the most part. Price came up on this tablet as well. Right, at 11 links left to update before I'm done. Yes, hello. You're a bit bored. All right. Yeah, I'm sometimes surprised that the iPad mini is still sold out there, because it's quite old at this point and they sell it for more than they ask for the full-size iPad. You know, not the Pro, but still, I wonder why even bother. I mean, yeah, I like the size of the iPad mini. It's just that if you're going to sell the 9.7-inch model for $400, and that you sell the what is it, 8-inch version for even more than that, especially with older hardware in it, how does that make sense? Yeah, it's not going to be worth the money for most people. BlackBerry Key 1 still out of stock at Staples. Not a bad pick, especially if you're able to touch type on a physical keyboard. So yeah, physical keyboards are still a big deal for a few people out there. The virtual keyboard alternative is better for most people, but if a few are better served by an actual keyboard still, and BlackBerry is, as far as I know, it's the only one you can reliably find on the market right now from a reputable manufacturer too. All right, 5 links remaining. Looks like I'll be able to do things in a fairly reasonable timeline this morning. Um, Reached roughly 60% of all the links that still needed some attention this morning. got the suspicion that the 4 I have remaining down there, I won't be able to go to. I've got a few links on a Microsoft branded webcam that yeah, I still have activated, but I need to implement some kind of platform filtering for accessories before I can start displaying that webcam. It's not a bad one. Most of Microsoft webcams are actually pretty good. The only thing is that they depend heavily on drivers, and most of the time their drivers only work with Windows, which is not such a bad. It's not necessarily that bad considering most people are using Windows computers. It's only bad if you plan maybe switching to a Mac or maybe even to Linux. But still, I just don't have the feature to not recommend that webcam with, let's say, Mac, or I've got 1 or 2 Linux machines on in the database. So yeah, I'm missing a feature there. And sometimes those links, well, I know there's at least one that is a link pointing to Best Buy's website. So on Friday, it counts as one of those links I want to check. But the algorithm filters it out because it's not an active device. So I'm pretty sure that the number 4 I see down there is basically links I won't be able to get to today anyway. Price is still the same on that joystick set. Galaxy A5, I'm probably going to have to check that anyway. A5 is one of the low-cost alternative I usually consider. It's always a hard pick between the Galaxy A5 and the Galaxy S6 in my case. Because the S6 is much older, but it was built to be a flagship phone back in the day, while the A5 is built to be inexpensive today. So you might overall the S6 is a better phone. It's stronger. It's got a better camera, even despite its age. The one thing against it, however, is that's probably not going to receive much updates in the future, if at all. So, not necessarily the most secure device out there. It's also not the most compatible one. So as things go on, you're likely to not be able to run certain apps on it. At this point in time, it's probably fine, but let's say 2 years down the road, you might start to really feel left behind if you're into apps at all. So overall, the S6 better choice, better as a phone, better as a camera, but as a smart device, the A5 might actually be a better deal simply because it's going to remain up to date and receive attention from Samsung longer. Because, yeah, it's brand new while the S6 is getting very old at this point. And in stores only on this one. Still no change really. Yeah, and I'm still down to 4 up down here, so I'm going to call it time for me to go and do my last few updates. So I'll be just compiling a few stats in the coming minutes, and after that's the newsletter. And stay tuned this afternoon for the 2.5-minute video version of the newsletter, where I recommend the best deal available this weekend. And yeah, have a great weekend, everybody. I'm probably going to be streaming tomorrow morning as well. So come and join me then if you've got questions, or you would like a sounding board to help you pick the right device when shopping for tech this weekend. And yeah, that's it. Enjoy your weekend online or off. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.